Hey guys, assalamu alaikum, welcome back to another video. And wow, the Kingpin semi-final was amazing. Both fighters that I wanted to win, both went and got the win. Gibb beat Jarvis and then Kenny beat Whindersson Nunes. Well, let's first of all talk about the Gibb Jarvis fight. Jarvis started the round looking good. He was landing the cleaner shots. But we know how Gibb works. As the round goes on, as the fight goes on, he will slowly take over. And that's exactly what he did in that first round. As the round went on, he got more comfortable and he completely just, at the end, he threw some brilliant shots which caught Jarvis and put him under pressure. I think Gibb won every round. Round 1 and 2 was slightly close, but round 3, 4 and 5 was just total domination by Gibb. One thing that always scares me about Gibb is his footwork. I don't know, there's something about it. He's got a very weird bit of footwork. The way he just, he staggers a little bit and then he looks very I don't really know how to explain. If you watch how Gibb fights, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because it does look like at any moment he could just be rocked off balance. But the pressure that Gibb has and the pace just tires opponents mentally and physically. And that's how he wins his fights. His body work was brilliant today. He was putting work on Jarvis, especially with the hooks to the body and then coming up when he needed to. I think Jarvis landed some of the cleaner shots to the head, but I don't think he did anything really to harm Gibb. I think he needed an even better start than what he had if he was to beat Gibb. He needed a very, very, very good start to put Gibb under some serious pressure. But even then, we've seen Gibb, he got knocked down against McBroom in the first round, came back and knocked him down and won the fight. I think he got 5 knockdowns in that fight. So we know Gibb does grow into the fight as he goes on. And it was a very comprehensive win for him. And he was the first finalist of the Kingpin final. But then we move on to the main event of the night. King Kenny, my boy, was unbelievable today. An unreal performance. First of all, the audacity to walk out in the Brazilian colours and to Parada no Bailão was immense, especially with a Brazil crowd like that. The whole crowd was, well, pretty much the whole crowd was Brazilian. The whole crowd was on Whindersson's side, but he came out in the Brazil flag. He came with the Brazil flag and the Brazil colours. And he just looked up for it. He was dancing. He was enjoying himself. The Beta squad were all wearing Argentina tops. We saw Nico with the World Cup trophy. We saw they had like a baby doll with Whindersson's face on it, which was hilarious. But then let's talk about the fight. Obviously, Kenny goes in there first. Then Whindersson comes out, and the crowd go crazy. Because the Brazilian crowd is a massive Brazilian superstar. And let's be honest, Kenny was the underdog for this fight. Everyone said, Whindersson looked so impressive after that first round against Filipek. And people were starting to say that he's got to be one of the best in influencer boxing. And I thought that was a little bit rash because that was the one fight and Filipek did not look up for it. And, I think it was a bit of a hasty statement for people to say, Whindersson's up there with the top 10. Some people put him very high in the top 10, which I think is ridiculous after one fight against an opponent who wasn't very good. But then today he came up against Kenny, and honestly, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that might have been the best influencer boxing performance ever. That was unbelievable by Kenny. He looked on a completely different dimension to Whindersson. And Whindersson was supposed to be the favourite for this fight and probably the second favourite for the whole tournament behind Gibb. People really slept on Kenny because the fact that he has 2 losses on his record. But I have been saying this. Kenny looks like one of the best, if not by off the eye test. Kenny is the best in influencer boxing. He's so slick that his foot movement, his head work, his head movement, everything about it is so slick. On the eye test, he's always been one of the best in influencer boxing. But again, what we needed from Kenny was we needed more action. We needed him to go and throw more shots, be more active, because in the end, that was what lost him the fight against Ashley Raksu. The tempo one, you can't really say much. It was a tight fight, and it was his debut, and Temper's a good opponent. So, but the Raksu fight was really the one that let him down, because he should have won that fight, because he is a league or two. He's a few leagues above Ashley Raksu, but Raksu was just doing more work than him, and that caused the damage. Kenny just needed to throw more shots, which he was reluctant to throw. But then against my mate Nate in the quarterfinals, he started coming out, he was throwing more shots and got a knockout in, I think, the second round. But today, that was unbelievable. Straight away, as soon as he went in, he was commanding with his long reach. You know, that jab, he was just sticking it out. And every time he'd stick it out, he'd just catch Whindersson. He'd just keep on catching Whindersson. And Whinderson's head would keep rocking back. And then whenever he went with the right hand or with the hooks, he was catching him. Whindersson was looking to throw back in counters, but he just could not, because Kenny's head movement was unreal. The way he just slipped, some of the punches duck and roll, it was unbelievable. Kenny does look like the most professional fighter out of the whole of influencer boxing. He looks like the most professional. He looks like a proper... He looks like he's been there for years and he just knows what he's doing. Even though he's only been boxing for maybe a year. Maybe I think he made his debut last year in March on the Deji Wasabi undercard. But look at him now. Look at him now. The way he just commanded the ring today. He won every single round. There wasn't a single tight round. That fight, Kenny won every round comprehensively. And then at the end, you were just seeing where he'd just go in and he was throwing his uppercuts and hooks at Whindersson. He was just enjoying himself. You know, earlier on, he was waving his arm around. He got a knockdown in the second round. A beautiful left hook. We saw in the build-up, he was talking about how we dropped a sparring partner with the left hook. That left hook in the second round, I think it was, to drop Whindersson was so sweet. Fair play to Whindersson to get up and keep going. But Kenny is on a different level. And I think he is up there with possibly top 5 in the influencer boxing. I think it's very difficult to say because, you know, obviously JJ and Jake are definitely there. Then it's a toss-up really between, you know, Gibb, Kenny, Slim, Salt Pappy, and Dean the Great if we're talking pound for pound. But those 4, as in Pappy, Slim, Gibb and Kenny, they are like, I think it's close between them. Obviously, Slim's the only one out of them which is undefeated. But the cleanest looking is Kenny. Salt Pappy looks very calculated. Gibb just high pressure and he looks to work and put the pace on. So I think the final will really be a big one, and I'm just annoyed that it has to be Kenny and Gibb fighting each other in the final because I don't know who to support. Because I've watched Kenny for years, I've watched Gibb for years, I love them both. I'm torn on who to support for this one. I don't know what to do for that. I might have to wear... AJ said he might have to wear half and half t-shirt of both of their faces. I don't know who I'm going to support for that one. Because if Kenny wins, I'm going to be celebrating for Kenny's win. But I'm celebrating Gibbs' loss. And if, obviously, vice versa, if Gibbs win, then I'm celebrating Gibbs' win. But then I'm celebrating Kenny's loss. And I don't want to be doing that. It's a tough position for me to be in. And a lot of other people, especially in the UK. But we just got to appreciate Kenny's performance today. That was unreal. That I did not expect. Like, I knew, I've been saying for a while, Kenny is one of the best. The only thing that let him down previously was his lack of work, the lack of, you know, action that he put in. But he's just... Today was he looked so loose. You know, he didn't look. There was not one part in the fight he looked stiff or tired. He was just enjoying himself. He was dancing around in the ring. He was, you know, making faces at the camera. He was dancing before and after the fight. He was waving his arm round. He was throwing those uppercuts. His hands were by his knees, and he still landed the uppercuts and the hooks. That was a spectacular performance. Just everything about that was a beautiful boxing performance by Kenny. And we'll have to see what happens in the final. And yeah, as I said, it's really tough for that influencer top 5 now, because there's a lot of good fighters there. But on the eye test, I think Kenny does, on just on the eye test, I'm saying, don't go and start saying all this and that. Just on the eye test, based off the eye test, Kenny is the best fighter, because it's just great to watch Kenny fight, honestly. You know, even in that Raksu fight, he lost the fight, but he still looked amazing. And one thing you got to rate about Kenny is he can box off the back foot. A lot of influencer boxers don't really know how to box off the back foot. Kenny can do that. But yeah, just a superb performance by Kenny and by Gibb today. You know, Gibb was up against a tough opponent in Jarvis, and he managed to comfortably win the fight. He showed his class in a different way to how Kenny showed his class. But overall, a very, very good semi-final, and I'm very excited for the final. But I'm very not excited to see one of my boys losing again. But we'll have to see for now. But yeah, what a performance by Kenny. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of today's event, what you thought was the performance of the night. Let me know your predictions for King Kenny versus Gibb in the final. And obviously next week we've got Misfits 008, where we've got a flipping tag team elimination thing going on, which I'm excited to see. But yeah, it's gonna be a great final. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on this. Also, let me know what other videos you want to see. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, goodbye.